call the January 23rd council meeting to order. Chief Huntley, would you give the invocation, please? Oh,
Heavenly Father, as we gather here tonight, we thank you for our health and the ability to be here. There's much work to do in our community, Father. I ask that you would examine our hearts and fill us with righteous wisdom, so the result of our efforts will bring glory to you and you alone. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
amen. Chief Hawkins, will you give pledge allegiance?
Yes, sir.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, call the roll.
Enzer. Present. Taylor.
Present.
Blankenship.
Here.
Armstrong.
Here.
Blair.
Present.
Peckmaster.
Present.
Cole.
Here.
Snow.
Here.
Ellis.
Here.
Cosby.
Here.
Move on to reading and consideration of minutes of the previous meeting. Mr. Eller.
Your Honor, I move that we approve the minutes of the December 12, 2023 meeting that are in our packet.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Seeing no proclamations, we'll move on to public comments. Before, oh, we have a presentation. Oh, my bad. All right. We'll move to presentation then.
Jen Kirby.
Oh, you're gonna slide. Okay. Good evening. I'm excited to share what I've been working on over the past few months. It's hard to believe I've only been in this role for a little over 4 months. In a very positive way, it feels much longer than that. Carthage is a beautiful city with a wealth of experiences to offer. As I began working on the marketing strategy, I landed on a tagline, a stay worth experiencing, because Carthage is a stay worth experiencing. Whether you're a longtime resident or looking to move into a new community, or love to explore new areas and attractions, Carthage is worth experiencing. And I'm honored to help highlight and promote this wonderful town. With that being said, let's dive into what I've been working on. No, it's not gonna work with that. Nope, the other one. Just slide down to the, because it's PDF, so just scroll. On the right. Yep. There you go. That one right there.
Got it.
I pulled together my goals and accomplishments for second quarter, which was October through December of last year, as well as included my work for my first 30 days. Coming on board, one of my first tasks was to finish out and complete Food Truck Friday for the season. We had a successful event, CWIP was the sponsor, and we hosted a movie night in the park. I also worked on local marketing with Judy Thomas for the Maple Leaf Rodeo. And I began digging into the DMO, which stands for the Designated Marketing Organization. My key responsibilities for the DMO are to work closely with Joplin on their strategic plan, administer the budget, administer creative submissions to the state, as well as draft the creative designs and market. In second quarter, 10 print ads were designed and submitted to a variety of magazines, and 6 billboard vinyls were produced and placed in Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Another key relationship is working closely with the Boots Court. Jeremy and I have chatted about the best ways to partner and support Carthage. I've also assisted the Boots Court Foundation Board with their McCune Brooks Regional Hospital Trust grant for their green space. Much of my first 90 days has been focused on building relationships, including making initial contact with the hotel owners in the city. Jeff Meredith and I tag-teamed this visit to learn more about the hotels and the owners and what we could do to help. One of our key findings was the hotels were not as bad as we had assumed based on much of the feedback we had initially received about our local hotels. I also attended the Tri-State Corridor Route 66 committee meeting with many of my peers and up and down the route. Our key points of discussion included marketing for the Centennial and event plans. In December, I began providing a tourism staff report to the Public Services Committee. And lastly, I have been working on content curation for the Experience Carthage Mo website. I am continuing to work on it and build out more information about our community. I'm also adding local events, so if you know of local events that are going on, please let me know, because I'm trying to curate all those and put them together to share our story. Also, the graphic you see here that is on the right of this slide is a print ad that was published in Terrain, Missouri Life, and Show Me Missouri magazines. This is a beautiful photo taken of our own Kellogg Lake Park by Coral Martin. Next, I want to talk about my key initiatives and KPIs. I pulled together a tourism scorecard listing both my key initiatives and KPIs. Many of the initiatives I've already hit on previously. There are some additional ones I would like to call out, including tourism assets. I am focused on uncovering, highlighting, and promoting our attractions and reasons to visit Carthage. And with that, I'm looking at visitor landscapes and experiences. Here, I'm focused on building out and broadening the experience for our tourism assets. For example, the Battle of Carthage was the very first land battle of the Civil War, as you all know. Did you know that in 2022, there were 18,877 visitors to the state park here in town? Pretty impressive. I did not know that. And for our Civil War Museum, over second quarter between October and December, we had about 890 visits. That is pretty impressive for both tourism assets that are lightly promoted at this time. Can you imagine what those visits would be with additional promotion and broader experiences built around them? Another big hitter is the City of Carthage maps. We have at least one person per week that is coming into the office looking for a City of Carthage map. We haven't had one since 2018, and so I'm working with the group that produces them, and we will have them by August of this year. In regards to KPIs, which is on the right side there, my main focus right now is to build awareness for Carthage, and my key metric is reach. With the current DMO and local marketing plan, as it stands right now, with nothing of Q3 or 4 added, just so you know, we have a reach of almost 4.8 million people. That's 4.8 million eyes that might not have seen Carthage before. This number will grow as I finish out mapping out that Q4 strategy with TV, radio, and digital. That is a lot of eyes being exposed to Carthage that would not have known what we have to offer. It's pretty exciting stuff. Just kind of scroll. Yep. Lastly, I want to quickly go over what I am working on now in the coming months. As I talked about the tourism assets, that's one of them. I'm looking at finding new ways to highlight and promote them. I'll be working with my peers and partners on the route to plan the centennial celebration. With DMO Q4 updates approved by the state, I will begin working on creative aspects for TV, radio, and digital. Another mission I'm on is to get signage from the highway. We currently do not have Battle of Carthage State Historic Site, Downtown Historic District, or Route 66 Brown historical signs off of the highway. And right now I'm working with MoDOT and Beth Bizzle, who is the State Historic Site Administrator of the Battle of Carthage. And lastly, I've begun working on making updates and adjustments to our visitor guide to be ready for the upcoming season. Thank you. That is all I have unless someone has questions. Thank
you. Jen, how is the lodging tax? Is it up, down, same as last year, same as?
So when we last looked, it was almost right on point of budget, wasn't it? Yeah. So I can't compare to last year, but from the budgeted.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Got Jeff Meredith next, sir.
All right.
Working on it, Jeff.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. I'm Jeff Meredith with the Carthage Economic Development Corporation, and I thought I would go ahead and give you an annual review of what the CEDC did in 2023. Because our year is based upon the calendar, not necessarily the fiscal year such as you are. So the first thing we want to talk about is we did have 2 voluntary annexations, one of which is already completed and one that is started. One of the tasks that I've been trying to assist the city with, and speaking with Greg and others, is closing some of those donut holes. So ESM Technologies, that is a light industry that did go ahead and annex into the city. When I found out it was not in the city, it was amazing because it's, I don't know, a couple of blocks from CWP, which is effectively in the city center of the city itself. Giltner Logistics is the ones that has acquired the land over there on Baker, and they're working on their transportation hub, and they have agreed to annex that property into the city as well as 2024 before they actually start using it for much of anything. Next, last year, we did help set up the Carthage Redevelopment Corporation. It's also known as a 353 Corp because that's the state statute that actually gives this tool teeth. It is a tool that we have not yet used in Carthage, but it will be helpful, and we do have several potential projects in 2024 that could actually utilize this. And when those projects come to fruition, of course, we'll present those and go through the same process. Project Bull. This is one we actually started working with last February. The announcement of this went out in late December, but this was specialty risk insurance. They did add 203, or they have plans to add more than 200 jobs. And while they did relocate from within the city limits itself, the location out there on, I think it's Blackberry Road, across from Colaw, is still going to be good for Carthage and considerably better than if those jobs would have actually vacated us and moved to Texas. Those are good, high-paying professional jobs that we absolutely want to keep here. And we did help work with them to secure some state funding through Missouri Works. Vision Carthage, while that's obviously a separate nonprofit organization, we have worked well with them, actually through the last two directors, and they help provide a program for a grant assistance. We actually had the breakfast this morning. That date is wrong. It was supposed to be last week, but of course, you know, there was some nasty weather and things that came through. So we did have that breakfast this morning, and effectively, Vision Carthage will be helping filter some of those requests coming to the CEDC, and we will help support those nonprofits. With the time that's allocated as part of this program, I won't necessarily be writing the grants, but be helping to review and find those. And why this is important is because anything we can do to get outside dollars into Carthage is good for Carthage. And in that way, some of the nonprofits can actually act as such as a primary industry because they're basically growing the economy with outside funds. And I already met with a couple that there are definitely some possibilities there. The industrial park development, this was a big one. January 9th, that was literally my first day on the job, had a board meeting and started discussing with my board about getting an ARPA grant from the state of Missouri. Actually, January 10th was a city council meeting, so I met many of you all that night on my second day. And then 2 weeks later, presented the plan to city council, and you all empowered me to move forward with that. The grant was submitted in February, and then May 5th, we did receive notice that we did receive $1.5 million. Again, another little update here. So Mr. Williams, my president, and I, we met with the bank yesterday, and we actually are looking to schedule a close February 1st or February 8th, assuming, you know, that after the second vote this evening. Picking Thursdays so that the mayor can be there to sign the closing paperwork, and we can have a nice announcement and market that. And then we'll, of course, pass that on to Jen to further tell the story of good things going in Carthage. So total grants that were received in 2023 through the CEDC, $1.5 million from the state of Missouri for the industrial site. The Steadley Trust has also committed $1 million for the same industrial site. Rounding out the state, local, as the federal funds, $300,000 from the USDA for the industrial site. Steadley Trust let us know in December they're providing $10,000 for a housing study to try and focus on one of those additional pillars that were identified during the strategic plan. And then also I helped a private business receive a grant from the state of Missouri for childcare. Anticipate having that facility open up where their goal is by March 31st, bringing the total to $2.92 million that we got in grants last year. And if we go to the next slide, or for anybody want this kind of return on investment on their investments these days, put that in the market and get a 2,000 return, or basically the $140,000, that is the combined funding that both CWP and the city have provided to my organization, and we brought that money back almost 21 times last year. So with that, here are some prospects for 2024, because I used to do sales and I know that, oh, you had a great year, what's next? So here's what we're looking at for 2024. Many of you are aware of the downtown project trying to get the sidewalks. That would be an 80% match from the state of Missouri through a CDBG. Hope to finish that project, or at least the approval process, next month, when the P&Z will discuss the blight ruling, and then the first council meeting. Hope to see all of you fine folks again. Try and get that approval done as well.
I'm sorry. I stopped, I got you again.
I didn't point. So outside of that, for some capital purchases, I've been talking with Greg about potentially purchasing equipment. There again, it's a 35% grant available from the USDA. With CWEP, there is funding, lots of federal funds coming through, so looking at potentially 66% grants from the Department of Energy, and a broadband expansion trying to spread that footprint. Again, bringing dollars from outside the community. And yes, many of these grants are coming from tax funds initially, but we've already paid the taxes. We can get those dollars, we can get them in Carthage, or we can give those dollars to Jefferson City and Washington, D.C., and they can spend them somewhere else. I choose to spend those dollars here. Outside of that, nonprofit organizations, talked about the grant program. Sky's the limit on what that could ultimately be. And now, do we have any questions? Okay, well, thank you all for a good year. Let's do it next year.
All right, we will move on to public comments. Before we get started, I want to comment on the last meeting, which was December the 12th. There were comments made that limiting speech in the council meeting was a First Amendment issue. This meeting is a limited public forum, which is not a First Amendment issue with limiting speech if it's not related to an agenda item, if it's repetitious, if it's inappropriate, or if it's irrelevant. Anyone wishing to address the council will not make personal attacks against staff members. If you have an issue with a specific staff member, contact the office, set up an appointment to meet with me. It's not going to be discussed in a public forum. If you've spoken on a topic already at a previous meeting, don't plan on speaking on it again. We've already heard it. All right.
Where's that in the charter?
It's not in the charter.
I would not answer questions.
All right. Anyone wishing to address the council, step to the podium, state your name and address and business.
My name is Joel Terry. I live at 2219 Allison. I'm a terrible public speaker, so here we go. I've seen reports that the response to the Missouri Attorney General's request was approximately 2,000 pages long. Is that true? I've also seen reports that City Hall is charging residents to access this response. Is that true? Is this a paper copy or is it a flash drive? What is the charge and where does this money go? Is there a precedent for charging residents to access public information? Has Mr. Putnam been given access to the minutes from the alleged meeting to hire Mr. Dagnan? If not, why not? If so, was he charged a fee? I've lost a great deal of faith in this city's government. If someone requests information that he is entitled to see and is promised that he will get that info, is not granted the info, the only logical conclusion is this information does not exist. I'm of the opinion that if this information doesn't exist, 3 people in this room need to lose their positions immediately. That's Mr. Dagnan. He wasn't hired properly. Mr. Daly, he's given terrible legal advice. And Mr. Mayor, you need to step down because you have promised something you have not delivered. You're not following the city charter. If this information does exist, the citizens are owed an explanation as to why it's taken so long to access. Even if the information somehow appears I'm of the opinion that the mayor should give a detailed explanation as to why Mr. Putnam was denied access for so long. If records of important meetings are in such disarray that they are inaccessible for months, the mayor and city administrator should resign. Back to the Precious Moments proposal that I'm very aware that you do not want to discuss any longer. Mr. Peterson brought up some very disturbing allegations concerning his speaking about this purchase. He alleged Mr. Dagnan told him, "Stop talking about this or bad things are going to happen."
Joel, this isn't on the agenda, isn't relevant to anything.
Yes, it is. Well, time out. Yes, it is, because I'm going somewhere that has not been addressed yet. Okay? Am I gavelled?
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Dagnan, did you say that? If so, what did you mean? Mr. Dally, did you investigate that? If so, what were your conclusions? And if not, why not? If you did investigate it, are your conclusions available to the citizens of Carthage? Will there be a charge to access them? I've seen a duplication of the letter to Mr. Dagnan from the mayor offering him the job of assistant city administrator and outlining job duties and pay structure. This letter bases his starting pay at $92,000 annually. Did anyone, besides me, do a salary study for this position? Were you aware that the city administrator, not assistant city administrator, the city administrator for the city of St. Joseph earns $94,000? St. Joseph has a population greater than 73,000 people. That's about triple that of Carthage. Was the current assistant administrator's starting salary $92,000?
Time's up, Joel.
Point of order, if the audience cannot contain itself, I ask that it be removed.
Understood. No applause, please.
I didn't hear that.
Good evening. Joel's a little taller than me. Good evening. My name's Dustin Edge. I live at 1490 Piper Drive. I'm pleased to announce my candidacy for the Ward 3 seat available in the April 24 general municipal election. This will be my second attempt, as I ran unsuccessfully in 2020. That valuable experience will help my current campaign for council. Carthage is important to my wife, Carissa, and me. We had several options for communities to raise our 9-year-old son, Ezra, and 6-year-old daughter, Eva. In 2010, we decided Carthage would be our home to raise our children. We purchased a home and have built strong ties within the community. Carthage has many amenities that we value. Carthage has an independence and character not found in many communities. My background in Carthage began in 2000 when I served as a part-time employee for 8 years within the City of Carthage golf operations. I have been a Carthage Men's Golf Association member since working for the city. I've served on their advisory board, and I'm now in my current role as vice president. My professional background aligns with the responsibilities needed to be a successful council member. I received my Bachelor's of Business Administration in 2006 from Pitt State. I completed my MBA from Pitt State in the summer of 2022. I spent 5 years in the retail banking industry, some of which was in the Carthage community. In 2011, I took an opportunity to transition to a fintech company, Jack Henry, which provides retail banking solutions. I've held various positions over the years, my current position dealing primarily with mergers and acquisitions, emphasizing contractual agreements. My company has tenets that we abide by. One is to do the right thing, and another is to do whatever it takes. I embody these daily, not only professionally, but also in my personal life. I'm passionate about my family, interest, and enjoy both within our community, taking advantage of the amenities in Carthage. I'm a firm believer in accountability. My wife and I are teaching our children the importance of accountability and how their actions can affect others. We have had recent incidents within our leadership that display a lack of accountability. The recent actions taken by our leadership are an embarrassment. Over the past several months, the increased attendance at these meetings speaks volumes to concerned citizens. Several decisions have been made without fully considering the consequences of those decisions and without fully understanding the parameters which those decisions can be made. Every decision by the council and our leadership should be made with the best interest of the citizens of Carthage in mind, all while operating within the set charter and code. Accountability, fiscal responsibility, responsiveness to constituents, and a commitment to transparency must become staples within our city government. In closing, seeing tremendous citizen attendance at these city council meetings has been fantastic, just like this evening. Our citizens care about the direction our city is headed, and I look forward to running for Ward 3 City Council seat. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, city councilmen, city officials, I'll be brief, and this is the first and only time that I have spoken before this body, at least in many years. I'm Bill Lashley. I'm a resident of the 5th Ward, and Mr. Elliff and Ms. Cossey are my councilmen. I live at 1403 Grand, and I'm a lawyer here. I've been a lawyer here for 46 years. I've practiced law for 52 years. I've recently been asked by Councilman Cossey to look into representing her concerning a complaint. I haven't had time, in all honesty, to thoroughly review any of the background of the so-called accusation against her, but I can tell you this. One doesn't surrender their First Amendment rights when they run for and are elected by the voters. She is not a city employee. That's the second thing I can tell you. And matters involving discipline of a duly elected city councilman are not discussed or decided in closed session, as I've heard is proposed here. Rather, they are matters for open session, and then only if she is provided proper, detailed, specific notices of the accusations against her, the right to confront her accusers, right to cross-examine, right to put on witnesses and evidence of her own, right to counsel, and all of the other rights of due process guaranteed by our republic. Regrettably, and I say regrettably because I like all of you, some of you I've represented their families, and I consider to be friends. So regrettably, in my judgment, there has been a disturbing pattern from the city administration for over a year now. By one means or another, it's my opinion that those who disagree with certain city officials or who stand in the way of their desires or their ambitions have been attacked and intimidated, and I believe persecuted. Disagreements ought to be resolved by courteous discussion and discourse. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm winding up anyway. When a government official or a government body attempts by the heavy hand of government to chill dissent or free speech of those who merely disagree with you, that official or that government is striking at the very heart of constitutionally guaranteed protections, and there are remedies available to address that. I urge you tonight to tread wisely and tread cautiously. Thank you.
Okay, Bill. Bill, I'll clarify a couple of things with you. There will be a closed session on that topic or that subject, because the reports from our personnel and reports and the legal opinion is classified. So that will be discussed in a closed session. The hearing itself will be back in here in open session. So it's a little bit of a hybrid, because you're right, a council member is not a city employee, but city employees may have commented or reported on during the investigation process, and that's what will be in closed session.
Mayor, I respectfully disagree.
You're more than welcome to. All right. Anyone else?
I'll go. Jana Schramm, 1521 Grand. Let me get my podium set up. Don't start my time just yet. So, it concerns me all the silencing that's happening with this administration. Started on October 20th, 2022, when the famous statement was made threatening Mark Peterson. Do you want me to repeat it? Stop talking about it, or bad things will happen. And by gosh, bad things did happen to Mark Peterson, didn't they? And they continue to happen. Silencing, June 15th. There was an all-out attempt to silence the CW and EP board by firing them. However, this did not work, but several council members continued not to support the reinstatement of it, and essentially, with that vote, they disrespected the entire CW and EP employees, family. My name's misspelled. And just to refresh your memory, those that would not vote for Carthage Water and Electric were Mark Elliff, Trudy Blankenship, David Armstrong, and Ed Hardesty, that is no longer here. September 26th, it was our turnout as citizens of Carthage it was our turn for all of us to be silenced. They told us that we couldn't clap, like you did tonight, we couldn't speak. We had to sit down and basically shut up. They did not want to hear us. We were silenced, but that was actually seen as absurd before the meeting started, and that did not make the docket after all. It was in the agenda packet. First of all, Clause 2 would remove the right to stand during a meeting. Clause 3 significantly added to the list of things people could not do. We were not allowed to clap. Clause 9, doing any of these acts prohibited you and may get you banned from ever returning to council chambers. How can you silence your public? We voted you in. In October, the Sunshine Law request came from Mrs. Cossey's social media post. The request came from a fictitious name, but the attempt to intimidate and silence her was real. December 12th, the council meeting. Mark Elliff stopped Bill Putnam by calling a point of order, stopped him from speaking during his citizens' time, and then you stopped him from speaking. I don't believe you're correct on the First Amendment. I believe that you should be held accountable, and I would encourage Mr. Putnam to sue both of you for that. January 22nd, Councilperson Dr. Tiffany Cossey is served with charges that may lead to censure, or you're probably trying to impeach her. You are being put on notice by Bill Lasley and everyone here that you cannot go into closed quarters and discuss this. It's a violation of the Sunshine Law. We need to know what happens. You have to be transparent. You have to be. The council vote to censure a fellow council person is a pattern, and it's a dangerous one. So if you vote for this, it could be you next time. There's no stopping this. This has gotten out of control. You know who you are, who always vote with the mayor, with Dagnan. I suggest that you cut the ties that have been putting your arms up as puppets. Doesn't it hurt by now? Now, let's go back to the charges against Ms. Cossey. One on 9/1/2023, in a post regarding a letter issued from the mayor to the CWEP board, Ms. Cossey, it is considered to be part of a public meeting and must be entered into the public record, which means that City Hall should provide a copy to anyone who asks. She goes on to say, I highly encourage our citizens request a copy. Is that a bad thing? Is it? On September 2nd, Ms. Cossey made a post regarding Nathan Nichols from Lauber Municipal Law Firm attending the City Council work session on 8/28/2023. A citizen commented on the post, to which Ms. Cossey responded this statement. City Hall and the City Council's own actions are a result of negative speculation and causing a major mistrust in the city government as a whole. Is that a false thing? No. I'm going to stop right there so I don't get stopped or arrested or whatever, and Amy's going to take on for me.
All right. I'm Amy Grimes, 729 Highland. On 10/27/2023, Ms. Cossey was posting about moving future meetings to a bigger venue and stated, quote, given the resistance we have seen from members of City Hall and some of the council members to do so, end quote, people called City Hall all week to let them know they were planning to attend. 10/2/2023. Ms. Cossey made a post regarding the Sunshine Law and how to request information stating, if you would like to make a request for information sent out or received by City Council members, the mayor, or City Hall employees, any request should be made to City Hall, not of the individuals directly. 9/26/2023. Ms. Cossey thanked everyone who attended the City Council meeting that night and everyone who came to the meeting, live streamed to watch, called City Hall, and called their council members. 9/26/2023. Ms. Cossey made a post regarding people asking how to file complaints for possible Sunshine Law violations, in which she stated, also, the city's number is 417-237-7000 if you want to express your concern. 9/25/2023. Ms. Cossey gave information regarding the City Council meeting on 9/26, in which she stated, I also encourage you to call City Hall to make them aware of your anticipated attendance so they will not be in violation of the Sunshine Act. Thank you, by holding a meeting in a venue too small for expected attendance. This post was shared 29 times, which led to a public outcry with one citizen stating they are trying to take away our rights to be a part of the local government. City Hall staff fielded over 30 calls in one day regarding this post. Most callers were aggressive.
Mayor, I think she's reading from the packet that went out to the council that was not supposed to make it to the public.
Okay.
I believe this was on Facebook.
This was.
It was also marked confidential.
But stopped, Amy. You got stopped.
But it is also, by the way, just a restatement of things that are still posted publicly on Facebook, that nothing that they're reading is confidential.
This
If it
post
had
was-
confidential on top of that page, it's confidential.
Most callers were
No,
aggressive,
it's not.
rude,
Yes, it
and
is.
even yelled at city staff. 9/16/2023. Ms. Cossey's post was again regarding the seating at the City Council meetings. In this post, she stated, if you plan to attend the meetings, it's a good idea to let City Hall know. This post was also shared by a citizen who stated, everyone call and request a seat for you and your family, trying to limit attendees so our voices aren't heard. Ms. Cossey made a post regarding Nathan, oh, you already said that. I'm on the wrong page. Am I done? I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, citizens of Carthage. I'm Bill Putnam. I live at 624 Bel Air. I gotta hand it to you, Mayor. You know how to get a crowd out. Just put something controversial on the agenda and folks are interested. This evening, I had intended to continue my comments, which were gavelled down by the mayor on December 12th, in conspiracy with Mr. Eliff, using an inappropriate parliamentary maneuver to violate my rights of free speech guaranteed under Amendment 1 of the U.S. Constitution. And while I have been encouraged by several others to file suit against the city and the mayor for that illegal action, I'm still debating that and will save those comments for another day and speak tonight about an equally egregious action which is pending on tonight's agenda. Many of you are aware that Councilwoman Cossey reported on her Facebook page that she received a call from the mayor informing her that action would be taken against her for her public comments. Those charges have not been revealed. Apparently that is intended for a illegal closed session tonight, immediately before the vote on Resolution 2024 is taken. What will these charges be? Councilwoman Cossey has been vocal the past few months about sunshine law violations by the city. She has challenged the mayor for his suppression of my First Amendment rights, and perhaps has demanded accountability for the mayor's actions by asking questions he, Dagnan, and Dally would rather not answer. And now she is a target for suppression of First Amendment rights. And I would agree that the closed session is not appropriate, as Mrs. Cossey is not an employee of the city. If you will look at the agenda, you will note that 2 closed sessions are planned during the meeting. Almost always closed sessions are held at the end of the meeting or in a separate meeting. Why 2 during the meeting tonight? It's pretty obvious that this is a ploy to remove the citizens from the meeting. If they send us out to stand in the cold, they are hoping we will leave and not be present when they attempt to censure Mrs. Cossey in order to intimidate other like-thinking council persons. I suggest that the council should leave us in the room. You all go upstairs and have your closed meeting.
That's exactly what's going to happen, Bill.
There you go.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
So I also
Theatrical for nothing.
recommend that you vote against. The mayor says that there will be a closed session. You all have to approve the closed session. Just vote no. Now, it's improbable that the triumvirate of Rife, Dagnan, and Dally would bring up this censure vote unless they have counted the votes. My guess is that they are counting on the anti-CWNEP board coalition to back them. The 6 council members who have consistently voted to eliminate or pack the CWNEP board with folks they can control. They do have an unknown vote in Mr. Hole. But no worry, if the vote's 5-5, the mayor will break the tie and censure Councilwoman Cossey, or worse. I've heard a rumor that there may be an amendment to remove her from the council. And all this without giving the folks that she represents an opportunity to even know about this, let alone express their opinion. I will leave you with this thought. To the anti-CWNEP coalition, you may be in the majority now, but you only have 4 meetings left. I predict that on April 9th, there will be 5 new council members, and those of you who remain will find yourselves in the minority. Would you then want retribution taken against you for doing your job to the best of your ability? Please vote for transparency and First Amendment rights of free speech by voting against Resolution 2024. And I'd like to ask the crowd here, how many of you think Resolution 2024 should be disallowed tonight? Raise your hand. And to the media, put your relationships with these folks aside and do what's right so that people will know what's going on in city government. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Debbie Smallwood, and I live at 805 South Country Club Road, outside of the city. Being a non-voter, I never followed what was going on with city matters until this year. Mainly, things that got my attention were the firing of Mark Peterson, the demolition of the ball field, and most appalling was the firing of the CWEP board. I attended the June City Council meeting at the Memorial Hall with a packed house of concerned citizens. There I witnessed several board members voting no, refusing to discuss the firing or the reasons for dismissing the board. Once again, they were not asked to change their vote, just to discuss the issue with the CWEP. Aren't we taught to listen and discuss even when we do not agree? From the June meeting forward, I have attended as many meetings as possible and been trying to be an involved citizen of our community. I challenge others, even those that live outside the city, to be aware of the decisions being made that affect us. Carthage is our town, and we need to follow what is happening. I have looked over past council meetings, and there seems to be a constant presence of one involved individual, Greg Dagnan. He was appointed to his current position and has been given and has been involved and advocated for many changes. In my opinion, not all have been best for our town while not living in our community. Our mayor, city attorney, and several board members have given Greg Dagnan power to make very important decisions. Is he qualified for the job of city manager and the power in making the decisions he makes? Question for the council: have you listened to your constituents in your ward? Do you remember the number of people that were here in June at the Memorial Hall? Are you aware of the people that are here now and that are coming to the meetings? Do you hear us? Do you hear them? Actions have been taken that seem to have divided this community, and some of us, including me, have lost good friends over this past year. There has been too much deceit and secrecy, and I ask you to help Carthage move forward and make changes that we need to make. Need I even mention the deficit spending? An election is coming up April 2nd, and seats could be overturned in the public if the public chooses. We have many new and very qualified candidates also running for these seats. Voters will decide who they want to represent their ward. We need everyone to please go out and vote. Let your voices be heard. I would like to say thank you to the city council members that have been asking questions and listening to the community. Thank you.
On to actual business. Kirk Friesen, 527 Bel Air Place. Council not asking anyone to change what they've decided already on this land vote for the industrial park today. On the surface, looking at 247 acres for $4.95 million, more or less, 20,000 an acre, 20,000 for prime commercial ground is a great price, but the problem is we aren't looking at prime commercial ground. Bottleneck shape property that you see in front of you, very little frontage. The appraiser agrees to a large degree with a valuation of $3.4 million. Anyone who's been around real estate transactions for any time at all knows that an appraiser has very specific rules that they must follow in their appraisals. I believe this appraiser did the best job he could with the information he was given and with the information he had to use for comparable properties. The acreage on the front side of this bottleneck is worth about $12,000 an acre. The back side of the bottleneck, which is about 75% of the property, is between $6,000 and $8,000 an acre. None of the properties used in the comps have such a land configuration with an obnoxious bottleneck separating the road frontage from the majority of the property. The first comp that was used was a 40-acre parcel in Dunnawig that is closer to the interstate than the property we're planning to buy. It sold for $12,000 an acre. This property is also accessible from 3 sides in its current configuration. I do not believe it to be a very comparable property. Second comp is a disaster. It was 102 acres in West Joplin. Wildwood Ranch sold the property to themselves through their development company. The property sale should not even have been on MLS as a closed sale, should be completely looked at skeptically. This was not anywhere close to an arm's length transaction, and it was moved for accounting purposes from one set of books to another. So placing any validity on the $10,700 per acre price tag is impossible. The third comp is where we really start reaching. Mr. John Bartosh owned 24 acres and change on South Grand, where the one-way on-off ramp is across from the new fire substation. Land was sold for $12,000 an acre. This land was much more ready for development and is really too small to even consider as a comp. This was actually a very fair price for the piece in question. I even personally looked at buying it, but did not want to incur the cost of development. The fourth comp is the worst of them all. It's an entire corner of interstate off-ramp frontage on I-49 for a Love's truck stop. This land sold for $18,400 an acre, which is less than what we're paying for a quarter of the decency of the land. By far the most prime location we have, and comparing mostly hunting ground to a prime commercial spot is crazy. There's also a property on the corner of Russell Smith and Fur Road that was referenced as a pending sale. I do have a lot of details on that, but since it's a pending sale, I'm not at liberty to share them. And that's about all I can say about that. When you're developing property, you need to know how much it's going to cost you to have it ready for sale. How many feet of utilities will you need? How many trees will you remove? How much ground will you have to level? How much does it cost to maintain 247 acres for the next 5 or 10 years until we get someone in there? Carrying costs in real estate are generally what cooks your profit margins as a private investor. Carrying costs end up being something that makes the citizens of Carthage very angry over the next 10, 20, or even 30 years while we sit on it. Does the city have anything in the budget for these items going forward? If you don't have anything in the budget, what do you plan on cutting to make this site viable? I would suggest someone make a motion to renegotiate the price of this property or completely walk away until all parties come to their senses on the value. In my opinion, it's probably worth between $2 and $2.5 million as it sits.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to report of standing committees and board liaison for standing committees. Budget, Ways and Means, Chairman Snow.
Budget Ways and Means Committee is currently between meetings. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on February 12th at 5:30 here in council chambers.
All right, thank you. Committee on Insurance Audit and Claims, Chairperson Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Committee on Insurance Audits and Claims met this evening in council chambers at 5:30. We heard an audit presentation from Rebecca Baker with KPM CPA. They gave us a clean opinion, which is the best opinion they can give. We also heard from Ms. Cox regarding the dental rates they were reviewing. She explained that the dental rates will stay the same, so she recommended no changes at this time. So I would like to, at this time, make a motion to accept the dental plan.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to continue the dental plan for the city staff as it has been in the past year. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Our next meeting will be on February 13th at 5:30 in council chamber.
Hang on a second. Yeah, yes.
Oh, that too. My apologies. I also make a motion to accept the audit we heard the presentation on this evening.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the audit from KPM. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That is all.
All righty. Move on to Public Safety Committee, Chairman Ella.
Thank you, Your Honor. Public Safety met last night here in council chambers due to holiday being of the regular scheduled meeting. A couple of items to bring forth. First, we heard from Megan Milliken regarding the 2024 Tower to Tower Run. I believe this is the 6th annual run. It will be taking place on Saturday, May 11th. Beginning at 8 a.m., starting in the southern part of the parking lot along River Street and George Phelps Boulevard, and continuing down. The Water and Electric will have their volunteers. They will be at a couple of locations, Fairview and Main, as well as Fairview and River, with the signs that normally used for the police and school crossing guards stop. So not needing any of the Carthage PD to help out, but I'm sure they're available if they need anything, of course, on that. So basically at this time, I would just move that we approve the 2024 Tower to Tower Run on Saturday, May 11th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Tower to Tower Run on May 11th at 8 a.m. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. We also received 3 bids regarding the City Hall fire protection. This has been going on quite a while to get the system up to where it should be. The current system we have is too old. You can't even get the parts for that. So basically having to look at a whole new box on this. Out of the 3 bids, 2 of the bids were not full bids on what they requested. There was 1 bid that came in from 360 Fire Protection in the amount of $10,687.25. The budget for this was for $15,000. That amount will bring the strobes up to date, actually put in strobes down in the basement and alarms, which there are none at this point. So this will get everything up to date. There's no action to take tonight, as there will be a council bill forthcoming later on, but just wanted to let you all know about that. The other item that is on for tonight's meeting is Resolution 2023. It's regarding the $10,000 donation that was given to the police department. And the next meeting will be held February 26th, and that is due to the normal meeting would be on President's Day, so we're putting it off. That's all I have tonight, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Public Services Committee, Chairperson Enzer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have 2 meetings to report on since we haven't been to council since the last 2 meetings. On our December 19th meeting, we considered and discussed the golf course retail inventory. For this year, we had budgeted $70,000. We're asking to increase that to $120,000 because there were more rounds played, which means that there was more merchandise sold. They're running out of merchandise between July and October. They had $70,741 in profit, and 25% of their budget is spent on golf balls. And they also participate in buyback programs with the unsold inventory, such as shoes. And so we have forwarded that on to the budget committee. We considered and discussed the dog park rules. Those can be viewed in the December 19th Public Service Committee packet. We also considered Rock Stadium renovations, and we are asking and have sent it on to the budget committee to have $150,000 from the use tax to get the stadium ready for playing ball in the spring so that the high school can play there. That is not on tonight's agenda, but you will be seeing that soon from the Budget Committee. Then on the January 16th meeting, we considered and discussed the tree inventory grant. The last tree inventory was done in 2008, and Abby worked very hard to find a grant, and we received the grant of a cost share. So we, our split of that is $1,508.65. The grant will cover the rest. The bid was in the amount of $31,375 from Laverne Copel, I think, Lauren Copel. And this is a council bill to sign the grant. It is Council Bill 2405. We also considered and discussed the concession funding for the baseball. Due to taking over the Little League and the baseball, we need to stock the concession stand. So you will see that contract with Cisco for $15,000, and it will be Council Bill 2404. We also considered and discussed field rental pricing, which is part of our cost recovery efforts, and that is in the Public Service Committee packet also. We heard staff reports from Jen Kirby with her tourism update, which was very similar to everything that she has said tonight, and we are enjoying hearing her reports through our committee. Our next meeting is February 20th at 5:30 in Council Chambers. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Public Works, Chairman Armstrong.
Thank you, Your Honor. Public Works met in council chambers on January 2nd at 5:30. We have 3 items on the agenda this evening. The first item we discussed in council meeting, or at the Public Works meeting, was the easement in Municipal Park for Spire Gas. That will be on the agenda as Council Bill 2403. The second was the I-49 Russell Smith Way Roundabout, where we accepted the bid from Radmasher Brothers, which came in under budget, thankfully. We were a little concerned how that was going to go because it's kind of been sitting out there for a while, and with inflation the way it's been, we've been concerned about what the final cost would be when it came in, but we were lucky and it came in under budget. So we're moving forward with that. That will be on tonight's agenda as Council Bill 2401. And then lastly, we talked about Phase 7 of the TAP grant. This will be sidewalks from River Street Airport to Pearl, and that will be on as 2402. We did have a couple other items that were brought up in staff reports, which I'd like to share. First is that the street department made 2,591 stops for leaf pickup and hauled 295 loads to the recycling center. They do a great job. It's one of the best things that our city does for its citizens. It's one of the things that I've heard the most feedback from, and I want to commend our crews for getting out there and working hard and taking care of our citizens. And then secondly, this was on January 2nd. We had already processed 150 contractor licenses by that time. So the second day of the year, we'd already had 150 contractors licensed within the city. That's a monumental task done by the staff at the Public Works office. They do a great job making sure that the people who work within our city are licensed and bonded and have insurance, and that everything's on the up and up. Lastly, we were very encouraged by the development at Peachtree. We had anticipated 1 or 2 developments ready to go, and we're looking at 6 being developed out there right now, so we're way ahead of schedule. And good things are happening. Buildings are being built. People are doing stuff in Carthage, and all that's reflected in the annual reports that we receive from Public Works Department. So thank you to them for doing such a great job. That's all.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one other thing. We received a letter from MoDOT. This was after the meeting, but it does need to be addressed now. Just to make the public aware and to make the committee aware, we did receive a bridge inventory analysis for the bridge on North Garrison over North Fork of Spring River. The tonnage on that bridge has been reduced from 9 tons to 5 tons. So that has already been posted, but just to make everybody aware that the tonnage on that has been reduced.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to reports from special committees and board liaisons. Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have 3 committees to report on. First, Planning, Zoning, and Historic Preservation. The meeting was canceled this month due to lack of business. The next meeting is scheduled for February 5th, 2024, here in council chambers. Jasper County Commission, several meetings since we had our last meeting. They did receive their draft of the broadband gap study. It was just the draft portion of it. They're expecting the full report on that soon, I believe. They approved the 2024 budget for the county, which a couple of things that were in there. One of them was their increase in healthcare insurance is up 19%, unfortunately. Additionally, the Environmental Protection Agency is expanding their Superfund area. They will be continuing to do their studies. If you remember, they came and presented to the council several months ago. That is continuing. Representatives from ServPro were there today, giving an update on what they are doing. Basically, in the words of the gentleman that's the project coordinator, there was a lot of damage. Stabilization of the building is the main concern right now. Then they will move to the drying of the entire building. Environmental testing is being done because it's part of the requirements on that. And one of the tests that came back already, there was some asbestos that was found, so they will be working on that. The integrity of the building is their priority, and they are doing innovation in drying parts of the building, coming up with different ways to do it that's going to be non-obtrusive to the building, to be able to get it out to create so there will not be mold and won't be other things. And then at the end of the meeting, the sheriff wanted to give public kudos to Carthage Fire Department, Carthage PD for their quickly responding to the alarm. And good job, guys. It saved a lot. It could have been a lot worse. So thank you for that. Police and Fire Pension Committee met today here in council chambers. Daniel Hepp with UMB gave the report. The fund balance of the pension account stands at $10,008,565. For the last 3 months, the account produced 8.5% return, and for the last year, for a full year, it was up 14.96%. Very good. So everything that was down in 2022 was basically, we recovered that in 2023. It's outperforming all of the benchmarks they had. Looking forward, for 2024, they feel that inflation should continue to reduce. There will be several rates from the Federal Reserve. Some say 3, the Fed's saying 3, other analysts are saying maybe 6. As the economy continues to improve, inflation should continue to reduce, and returns will probably be expected to be a little bit lower in 2024 than it was in 2023. There will also be some changes to the pension plan that the board voted on today that will be coming forward in council bills in the future. And I believe that's it. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Snow?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to report on the Carthage Water and Electric Salary Study Committee. We've been meeting on Tuesdays with Lockton, the consultants that are doing the study. We have established a group of peers to send out a survey to get those salary numbers for. I believe the list is complete and they are working on getting the survey out, so we should be getting information back and moving forward. Lockton has been very good at communicating a timeline for everything that's going to take place, and I believe that they are the right group that we have hired to do that study. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Heckmaster?
The Vision Carthage Board met at 7:30 a.m. Wednesday, December 20th, 2023, and Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. Both meetings occurred in the CWNEP Community Room. In December, Vision Carthage saw the successful execution of Hometown Holidays, featuring several exciting new events. During the 2023 holiday season, Vision Carthage was responsible for the setup and maintenance of the light tunnel, the mayor's Christmas tree, downtown Christmas lights, Christmas hanging baskets, and window paintings. Two Vision Carthage board members, Jonathan Roberts and Laura Honey Phelps, began serving on the board in 2015. While Mr. Roberts has stepped aside as a board member, he remains dedicated to the Vision Carthage cause. On December 20th, Laura Honey Phelps chaired her last Vision Carthage board session as president. She continues to serve on the board. Terry Sanders is now serving as Vision Carthage president. Presently, Vision Carthage is dedicating to updating the building inventory, enhancing downtown marketing, and generating ideas for the upcoming year. The next Vision Carthage board meeting will occur at CWNEP Community Room beginning at 7:30 a.m. on Wednesday, February 21st, and you all are invited to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Carthage Humane Society met on January 18th. They discussed needed roof repairs, which many of you might be aware of their needs. They stated that the community has stepped up in such a way and donated so that there is progress being made. So they wanted to extend their thanks to the community for those who have participated in that. They also discussed their upcoming fundraiser, Straight Getty, that will happen this spring. More details will be forthcoming on that. So stay tuned, and their next meeting will be February 15th.
All righty, thank you. All right, we'll move on. I'm going to roll through the mayor's report. We'll move on to report or remarks of council members. Ms. Inzer, anything?
I have nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Ms. Kerr-Taylor?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Ms. Blankenship?
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Armstrong?
No, thank you, sir.
Ms. Blair?
Nothing tonight.
Christmas Eve, I had the opportunity to walk my new puppy. And several times during the night, I saw police cars flying by. While I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get my Christmas cooking done, the police were serving. Over the course of the last few weeks, we've seen water main breaks with the department serving. A CWNEP staff member actually helped with that water main break. As I ponder all the people that serve our fire department, I think, you know, we have a great team of people that are here to support this community and do the best they can with what they have. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Holt? Mr. Snow?
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Carney and the Public Works Department. The sidewalks on River Street are moving along. They look great. The work seems to be progressing fairly well considering the weather. The additional sidewalks that Mr. Armstrong mentioned tonight from River to Pearl on George Phelps. I don't know if, for anyone that's not aware, that's the street going west from the high school. I think, you know, when we put this money back into the community, I think it's only going to help. Those sidewalks, Mr. John Patrick came to our meeting several years ago and requested that we look into that as a project. And those are the type of projects that, you know, being concerned citizens isn't just to be concerned about all the things that may or may not be going right, but also to come to present us those ideas that we need to do to improve our city. So I just want to thank, again, Mr. Patrick. I know we've thanked him before for bringing that forward, but I think that sidewalk is going to benefit our high school students. I live near River Street, so I know there are a lot of students that walk that street to school every day. So thank you, Mr. Carney, for that. I appreciate it. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Ellen?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Cossey?
Yes, Your Honor, I have actually a couple of things. So number one, if we look at item number 19 on our session, or on our agenda, that calls for an executive session. That's the closed session where we're going to go in and discuss part of the censure against me. The reason stated for that, though, is something that we are not doing. It states this part of the Sunshine Law, and it says that we're closing the part of the meeting to discuss the hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of particular employees by a public governmental body. That is not happening. That is not what is occurring. And there is nothing under the exceptions to the Sunshine Law which allow us to go into closed session. So at this time, I would like to move that we do not go into closed session, and instead we make that an open session, because I believe we will be in violation of the Sunshine Law, and that's going to lead to more complaints. The general banner that's under, so we have all been told, well, it involves HR. That is not, there is nothing in the Missouri Code that says if it involves HR, then we get to go into closed session. It has to be very specific, and so I would like to know, unless there's something I don't know about that closed session, will we be discussing of an employee, the hiring, firing, promotion, or disciplining of an employee in that session? If not, I would like to make a motion that we take this, that we do not put this in closed session.
If Mrs. Councilwoman Cossey is correct, I would second that motion.
Can we hear a response to her comments?
So we did have to seek outside counsel for this. I have talked to that person many times. This whole agenda and this whole idea, there are, while you are correct, Ms. Cossey, we are not going to probably hire, fire, or promote anyone. It does fall under the personnel protection. There has been a hostile work environment complaint, and those employees are required to be protected by law. So if we don't go in the closed session, that's fine. We just won't be able to talk about the personnel stuff. And again, this is according to our counsel that I've talked to 3 or 4 times about this.
Well, the hostile work environment complaint, it's interesting. I know that all of you have not seen the mayor's resolution for censure against me, but the hostile work environment they're quoting comes out of the employee policy manual. I am not an employee, and therefore that does not apply to me. The closest one would be the EEOC, which could possibly govern that, but that has to be a hostile work environment based on race, sex, religion, things like that. None of those apply to me as well. So the hostile work environment argument does not fly.
All right, I have a motion and a second to not go into closed session this evening.
Can we have a negative motion like that? I mean,
I would like, okay, then I can rephrase that. I would like to remove the option, I would like to remove the statement that we're going into closed session. I'd like to remove the closed session from the agenda.
Okay.
It's a motion to amend the agenda.
There's a motion to amend the agenda item.
Yes.
Okay. And is there a second on?
I will second.
All right. I have a motion to amend the agenda to remove the closed session under item 19. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand.
Sorry, I was too late on the
Okay.
discussion piece. If we keep it an open meeting, you say we can't discuss, I guess I'm unclear on what we can and cannot discuss.
Your Honor, if I may. Well, right now, the motion on the floor is to amend the agenda. All this would do is remove the possibility to go into closed session. We would still have to have a vote to go into closed session if it remains on the agenda.
Correct.
So this functionally just removes the opportunity to go into closed session. It doesn't, that's all we're doing.
Well, and my vote would depend on
Right.
knowing what we could and could not discuss, I guess.
Right.
Mayor.
Sure.
So anything you got in this packet cannot be discussed in open session. The censure stuff clearly must be discussed in open session. So that would be the trade-off.
So you say anything that we got in that packet can't be discussed, and I find it interesting that the charges against me were marked confidential when clearly the censure resolution is something that should be public. So how is it that we can't discuss the resolution to censure me?
Well, I mean, you're making an argument which this is on the advice of our council how to handle this. So I'm telling you what they said.
Right, and so on the advice of your counsel, then we should violate Missouri public law then, right? Or did he possibly give you another law? There's a very specific provision, the Sunshine Law, Missouri RSMO 610.021. This is what covers closed meetings, and the one, and you're citing subsection 3. That clearly does not fly, that does not apply. Is there something else that you would like to cite for a reason for us to go into closed session? We can't just say, well, it's personnel, so it has to go in there. That isn't the way the law works. The law is very particular on what we can and cannot go into closed session about.
So I'm not giving my opinion, I'm giving his opinion. He cited very, very clearly many times that we have an obligation to protect our employees when there's an HR matter. That is what the closed session is for.
Okay. I just want to make the council aware before we vote, we will be subject to discipline for Sunshine Law violations for this if you vote to keep this on the
Matter of
agenda.
opinion, we have a motion and a second to amend the agenda to remove the item 19, which is a closed session. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand.
Come on, folks.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion does not carry.
So that was only one of the things that I want to discuss. The other thing I wanted to question, and it's really a rhetorical question, is why it bothers Mr. Armstrong so much that our audience claps for the people who get up and speak. As was mentioned, we had a decorum ordinance that came up for a vote, and it was very quickly taken off the agenda. So you are not disallowed from clapping. That is not a failure of decorum. And then my third point is... Thank you. I didn't mean to clap for me, but thank you. And then the
I
third.
think you did.
So I think the room reads you pretty well, Mr. Armstrong. But so my third question before I run out of time is when the mayor was up here and people were asking him questions, I'm wondering why Mr. Dagnan very loudly said, I would not take questions. If the mayor doesn't respond to what Mr. Dagnan tells him to do, why is Mr. Dagnan giving him directions?
Well, I'm fine to answer the question. I just prefer an orderly meeting.
And clapping disrupts you so much that you cannot function, is that right?
Apparently.
All right, we're going to move on to administrative reports. Mr. Daly.
Yes, sir. It's been a month, I think, since we've been here last. So we did, had several conversations, well, not several, I think 2 with Jay Turner at the Attorney General's office. I kind of thought we'd have a response to that 1 or 2 complaints from them at this point. He told me he's going to have a letter out, but we haven't got one, so I'm assuming it's going to be before the next meeting probably. There was not 2,000 pages sent to Jay Turner with the AG's office. There was approximately 1,900 pages sent to Mary with the State Auditor's office based on her request for documentation from the city. I did discuss with her what we were sending and what was sent, and to make sure we covered all the bases of what she requested in her letter. They were broken down by council packets and what she got. So there was closed minutes, letters, and then the council packets that she specifically requested any council information at any council meeting that was discussed. I believe either I think it was Greg's hiring at the time. I can't remember exactly what her language was, but that was discussed with her. She knew what she got. I talked with her since they got it. She did explain the issue with the date on the letter. I think it was dated the 6th and wasn't mailed till the 18th or something like that. And she apologized. That was a draft that was done before she went out of town. And when she got back, since that without changing that date. They will sit down and discuss all the information, she said, with her and other auditors. I don't know how many that means. If there's a law violation, the law can trigger an automatic audit. Otherwise, it'll just be back to where we were before, where there would be either the city requesting an audit of the city or a petition to audit the city. So hopefully that comes out soon. But I think after she got, before and then after she got this stuff, we talked, and I mean, there was no complaint on their part of the amount of information. I think that's what they requested, so in the letter they sent us anyway. Zeb and I went out. There's the county, if you don't know, is looking to deed the YMCA property, or the Fair Acres property, of what's left after they sold off to the bank, and then to the car wash. At some point, the road that connects the two parking lots, that little north and south jog, and the walking trail that goes through there is actually constructed on what is part of Lot 2. So we have Lot 1, which was this giant piece of land that we got, that we built the sports complex on in the 90s. And then the Y's got track 4, or track, I can't remember if it goes 2, 3, 4, how it goes. And then 2 is kind of in the middle there where the, or 3, nonetheless. The bank got one of the lots, the Y has another one. There's a lot in between those two. Part of it went to the car wash. The other part that the Y is getting contains part of our roadway and walking trail. And then there's that north-south fence that runs along our property, our parking lot, that we actually own, like, or we have 15 feet or so on the other side of it towards the Y. And so we talked with Mr. Swearingen about the county deeding up to the fence to the Y, so that matches their parking lot building, and then we get the road and stuff that's been constructed onto the deed. The county doesn't care. We don't have a whole lot to say with the county deeds other than we have a lease on that land, so we'd have to give up that little stretch of land in order to gain part of the property that we've already built on. And I think they were in the process of surveying that little square that, so we have our road and walking trail. Was part of the building on that too, or is it just, do you remember? Just the road. Okay, so hopefully that gets done. The county, at this point, they're just ready to deed it until they get the right legal descriptions. This week I had the pleasure, request from Mr. Bryant to go speak at the CWP Lunch and Learn, if I sound that correctly, Learn and Lunch, Lunch and Learning. I don't remember exactly. At least all the employees that were there, they wanted me to talk about the city's ordinance on campaigning and being involved in elections. If you've ever read it, it's pretty basic, that employees of the city are allowed, and actually said shall be able to participate in elections, just not at work, and not to use your position as towards promoting one thing or another. So we kind of discussed that. They had lots of great questions and good food. Other than the employees who were out fighting at I think most of the water department wasn't there, as they were out fighting frozen water lines. It was still very cold at that point. But I think that went well. As far as, somebody talked about legal opinions go, if I'm asked by council to give a legal opinion, that goes to the council or the mayor, or individual staff gets asked stuff. That's who the client relationship is with me. It's with the city, the governing body of the city. And so those aren't going to be given in open meetings. And so, I apologize, that may lead to some confusion at times as to what advice has been given to the council. And sometimes they don't follow advice. And that's something that over the years has happened. I can't sit here and tell you that did or didn't happen, because you wouldn't want your attorney out telling people what you did or didn't agree with, and that's kind of where we're at times when that happens. So that's just the way those things go. There's a contract we've got that got signed with a company called Brightly. I don't remember when it was entered into, but we found that in, I think, February, when Abby took over at the Parks Department. There's a Missouri statute that says in order to enter a contract, it has to be authorized by the council and then signed by the mayor. That was not the case, so we thought we'd cancel that in February. They've since sent us a bill for $16,000. I've reached out to them again and told them we canceled that contract in February. So maybe coming back here to look at legal to get filing something here in Jasper County to get an opinion if the contract is void. Statute, unlike normal civil contracts, if somebody enters into one, if you think there's the person has the appearance that they have the authority to grant that contract, then it's binding. That's not the case with the municipal contracts. In fact, the statute says it's void. And so I don't think we ever actually paid them anything, but I go back and look. The statute says they're required to pay it back to us if they did. It switches the burden onto the person contracting for them to verify for certain that they have the authority to enter that contract. So hopefully we'll get that settled with them. I've reached out to them again after we got the cancellation notice and bill, and I said, yeah, we canceled this in February. So we'll see what we hear back from them again. So that's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you. Chief Hawkins.
Yes, Your Honor, just something very positive for the police department. We are full staff, probably for the first time in many years as far as commissioned officers go. And I just personally think that's very exciting.
Good deal.
That's all that I have.
That's great. Thank you. Vice Chief Martin. Mr. Carney. Ms. Almendinger.
I do have a couple of things, thank you. I just wanted to make everyone aware that there's a pool survey out there if you haven't seen it. We would love to have everybody's opinion on, suggestions be made for the pool. I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that we have a situation with the pool that is a problem, an ongoing problem that will not be fixed. So I also did just want to respond to the portion of citizens' comments that apply to my department made today about the stadium. There are no less than half a dozen recommendations of taking down the stadium walls in the 2021 Parks Master Plan adopted by council that I inherited. So it had been in the works for some time before I arrived, and it should come as no surprise to anyone that the stadium had been in major disrepair for more than 20 years. Unfortunately, despite my attempts at making improvements, it was beyond saving. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cox.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sales tax revenues came in for the month of January. We are right on target at 58%. We are lagging behind last year's revenue totals, but we are still on target to meet our budgeted revenue goals. Also, use tax came in. We are now at 86% of the annual budgeted amount of $953,000. Just to give you an idea of how much it continues to increase. Last year for the month of January, we only brought in $59,000, and this year for the month of January, it exceeded $90,000. Also, this is one thing that Alan Snow continuously hounds me about. The marijuana sales tax revenue, we did receive our first installment. It was only 1 month. They're reporting in October of 23. What's happening is they're filing on the very last day, which is, fine, but it's not getting sent to us. It's lagging behind in another month. So the revenue was for the month of October 23, and it was $15,619.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. That is very interesting. Smoke more.
Also, our property tax revenues, we do get most of the property tax revenue in December and January due to the timing when they are due. And in the general fund, those revenues were up $31,000 over last year's totals. And that's all I have tonight, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dagnan.
Thank you, Your Honor. You do have my report in your packet. I'll be glad to answer any questions, but in the interest of time, I'm only going to highlight a couple of things. First of all, the budget process officially starts Thursday, and that is a meeting with the mayor and staff with all department heads to review their 6-month expenditures. So we literally will take their budgets, go through line by line, look for any problem areas, look for, positives so that we can give positive feedback to them. And so for us, that's kind of the start of the budget process to look at where we're at so far this year. So that's going to be an all-day meeting Thursday with all the department heads. I will also say that I'd like to elaborate on Mr. Elliff's comments. So the courthouse incident, the minute that it happened, the fire chief called me. We offered help to the courthouse immediately. It's a tragedy over there, but I will say I was incredibly impressed with how it's being handled. They're handling it really well. but I would say probably all of our department heads help them at some point. And so not only the quick response, but helping them do what they need to do. And so that's what it's all about. It's helping our partners when we can. And so I'm proud of our staff for that. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the report of the claims against the city.
The Committee on Claims filed a report in the amount of $4,461,963.51.
Ms. Blair?
I make a motion to accept the report and allow the claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the report and allow the claims. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Your Honor, at this time, I move that we go into executive session pursuant to Section 610.021, subsection 2. The agenda includes possibility to close part of the meeting to discuss leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body where public knowledge of the transaction might adversely affect the legal consideration therefore.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to move into closed session. Any discussion? Cast your votes.
Did you get your vote?
I haven't got anything
I haven't
yet.
got anything
He
yet.
hasn't either. Do we need to refresh?
Yeah.
It's done. There it goes.
Thank you.
All right, we are going into closed session.
Everybody
Head out-
knows the way,
head
but I
out
think we're
that
going to go
way.
out this back door through the office.
Council members, please log back into your tablet to make sure that you're still active or.
Mine still says okay, so, okay.
I've got my Jack Ranch. I think it tastes like a peach Bellini. Peach Bellini.
Oh. What you putting on? It's called white flour. Oh yeah, I've got some of that. I love it. What do you, is it sinus? Sinus. It's for headaches, aches, pains. And I've had this bottle 2 years. Yeah. Yep.
Well, maybe. We're going to do it all. Well, some of this love I can do without.
All right. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, make sure you're logged in.
Make sure you log back into your.
Right.
Somebody logged me out.
Well, I think
All right.
It says I'm here.
Okay.
Ask Michael Keith if he's ready.
Yep. Okay, ready? Okay. We are back in open session. We will move on to old business.
Second reading of Council Bill 2379, an ordinance to enter into a memorandum of understanding agreement with the Carthage Hardware for purchasing in the city of Carthage, Missouri.
Any discussion? Cast your votes.
Hey, looky there.
Council bill passes.
Second reading of Council Bill 2380, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Carthage Economic Development Corporation and Southwest Missouri Bank for an encumbrance on property to be purchased in the city of Carthage pursuant to Council Bill 23-07 in the city of Carthage, Missouri.
Any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Point two.
Being fully transparent, I will be abstaining from this vote as a trustee for one of the properties and comps that was listed. I just feel that's in my best interest.
All right. Any further? Cast your votes. Council bill passes. We'll move on to new business.
First reading of Council Bill 24-01, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract between the city of Carthage and Rodmacher?
That's close enough.
Okay. Brothers Excavation for the interchange improvements at the intersection of I-49 and Dr. Russell Smith Way in the amount of $2,659,341.10.
Any discussion? Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Your Honor. In our packet this week, it was an exceptionally long packet. If you read everything, it was over 700 pages. But right around page 212, there's a very interesting kind of breakdown that took me down a rabbit hole where they were talking about the endangered species that could be affected by this. And I just found it incredibly fascinating, and if you've got the time, I encourage everyone to go and read it. Well, number one, I was unaware that within 5 miles of this site there was a bald eagle nest, and within at Center Creek there are a lot. It's considered an exemplar of that type of freshwater, warm water system. Specifically, the mussels there are of a protected class. Anyway, all that is to say that there's a lot of work that goes into these, and I want to commend Zeb and Zainovan and our good friends at MoDOT who made this possible, and at Missouri Conservation Department who did a very thorough study of a very interesting topic, and I highly encourage anybody to read about our local wildlife that'd like to dive in.
All right, thank you. Mr. Snow?
I would like to say that being on the council for several years and waiting for this to come to fruition, amen.
All right.
Your Honor, can I also add, there is no impact to the eagles or any adverse impact to any of the wildlife.
All right.
Sorry.
First reading of Council Bill 24-02, an ordinance in the city of Carthage, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between the city of Carthage, Missouri and the Missouri Department of Transportation for sidewalk improvements, Airport Drive and Fairview Avenue, Route E to 571 to River Street to Pearl Street pursuant to TAP 1601706.
Any discussion?
I know, I'm getting ready to change it.
Mr. Armstrong?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would also like to note that this is phase 7 of this project. I believe I've been involved since phase 2 or 3. This is one of the best things that we do and spend our money on in Carthage. And I hope that even after my time on city council ends, that we continue to fund these programs into phase 9, 10, and 11, and as many as we can find.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Nope, okay.
First reading of Council Bill 24-03, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to grant an easement of property owned by the city of Carthage in Municipal Park to Spire, Missouri Incorporated to construct, operate, and maintain a gas distribution system consisting of mains, piping, valves, service connections, appurtenances, and above-ground structures.
Any discussion? All right.
First reading of Council Bill 24-04, an ordinance amending the annual operating and capital budget for the city of Carthage for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 for specified funds: general fund, fire protection tax fund, use tax fund, and public safety fund.
Your Honor, that's not in our packet.
And that's not what the screen says either, or mine.
2404 is, yeah, Cisco Foods.
Cisco Foods is 2404.
Well, let me just read that off here then. 24-04, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a participation agreement with Cisco Incorporated to provide food services for the city of Carthage, Missouri.
Any discussion on that one? Okay.
First reading of Council Bill 24-05, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Missouri Department of Conservation for Community Forestry Cost Share Grant for updates to tree inventory in the city of Carthage, Missouri.
Any discussion? All right. Move on to mayor's appointment.
The mayor's appointment of Doug Huntley to the library board.
Mr. Ella.
Your Honor, I move that we approve the appointment to the library board of Mr. Huntley.
I second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the mayor's appointment. Any discussion? Cast your votes. Voice vote? Okay. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Mr. Ellen.
Your Honor, I move we move back into executive session according to section 610.021, subparagraph 3. The agenda includes possibility of a vote to close part of the meeting to discuss hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting particular employees by a public governmental body when personal information about the employee is discussed or recorded.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Any discussion?
Once again, I'd like to strongly object. This is illegal under the laws of Missouri. But we do not have a permitted cause. The cause stated is not what we are going into session for, and that is against Missouri legislation.
All right, anything further?
Could we hear a response to that?
Our legal opinion disagrees with that. That was the opinion we were given by our legal counsel. Cast your votes, please. Motion passes. We are in closed council.
Mayor, and Posse Council, I demand to be present in that meeting, even if she is mentioned in the wildly imaginative and creative theory that Mr. Dagger has mentioned.
Discuss that with Nathan before I probably discuss that with
Your Honor, I move that we allow Ms. Cossey's counsel in closed session.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to allow Ms. Cossey's counsel into the closed session. Any discussion? Mr. Armstrong.
I'm not opposed to this at all. I think Ms. Cossey deserves her representation, but to be clear, there is no legal right that he has to be in the closed session, other than to be invited by the council.
Mr. Smith.
I would like to say that I believe that there will be claims made against Ms. Cossey that her counsel should be privileged to.
I would also like to say that denying me counsel, actually, anyone who voted to go into closed session under the wrong legislation actually subjects themselves to personal liability. Further, voting to deny me counsel could potentially additionally not only subject the city to legal action, but yourselves as well. A legal representative is an extension of a person. They are that person's representative, and there is nothing denying me the ability to have counsel. It is a basic human right. If you want to have legal counsel, you can have them in pretty much any situation. Just because it's a closed session, it doesn't mean I can invite in the entire crowd, but I can invite in legal counsel. I'm absolutely allowed to do that.
Your Honor, what was the advice of our legal counsel, sir?
He advised that you could make a motion and approve that, but that it was not required and it wasn't recommended.
Thank you.
Also, Your Honor, I would like to know who objected to me bringing legal counsel in and why. Because somebody made the decision to call the city attorney, and I'm just wondering, was it anybody on the council, or was that something that our city administrator decided to do, or something that our city attorney?
I suggested that.
Okay,
Because the
and
question was presented, and the only people that were allowed in there were the council members and no one, you and the council.
and so I'm wondering why you object to me being denied counsel.
That's not it. Your opinion.
Or Mr.
varies.
Taylor.
Your opinion.
Because
changes
our
is
legal
different
counsel said it
from
was not
what our legal
necessary, we
counsel
didn't have to
says.
do it. I'm not denying you anything.
Well, apparently you'd like to.
No, I did not.
The only thing that's going to be discussed in closed session is the investigation, the HR investigation, period. Just the
Which
evidence
involves
from that
personnel records
investigation.
of the accusing party.
Absolutely, but that investigation relates to me.
Which has no bearing, our legal counsel says it has no bearing whatsoever. Any hearing that will happen to do anything about those charges will happen in open session, just like our lawyer said.
But these are charges being made against me. I'm entitled to have a legal counsel in there to hear those charges and to advise me.
We're
All right,
advised
so
you
we have
don't.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Who were the nays? Raise your hand.
That would be Mr. Elf and Mr. Taylor.
Yes, it was me.
Of which I'm not
Was
going
to
against
allow
legal
counsel-
counsel for the city.
Thank you.
I'm glad your ethics don't dictate how you vote.
Yeah, so motion passed.
That would be Mr. Elf and Mr. Taylor.
Yes. If y'all want my address, it's on the website. Come visit.
Wait a minute, that sounds like a threat to me.
No.
Have a seat, we're not in.
I want to hear from all of you personally. No, it was
We're
not.
not in citizen
I want to hear from you
participation. Or
personally.
have a seat. Have a seat.
Come talk to me.
Have a
I'll
seat.
listen to everybody.
All right. Mr.
Your
Elf.
Honor, I move we go into closed session according to section 610.021, subsection 13. The agenda includes the possibility of a vote to close part of the meeting to discuss hiring, firing, promoting particular employees of governmental body. Subsection 13 is individually identifiable personnel records, performance ratings, or records pertaining to employees or applicants for employment, except the exception shall not apply to the names, positions, salaries, and lengths of service of officers and employees of public agencies once they are employed as such, and the names of private sources donating and contributing money to the salary of a chancellor present at all public colleges, universities, state of Missouri, and the amount of the money contributed by the source.
Second.
All right.
We need to amend it.
Okay, so I will withdraw that motion and ask that we amend the agenda
Yes,
to
change it to
add
13.
section 610.021 subsection 13.
Yes.
All right. Got a motion.
And a second.
We have a second. To amend the agenda to include the above stated section 13. Any discussion? All in favor?
I have a point to make. We consulted with the lawyer to see under what clause of closed session should this have been made, and he
Under that
suggested
section
that it was a
13.
different one than what we had initially
Right.
voted on closed session, and this is pertaining to personnel matters. That's why we're changing this.
Right. Right. Okay. Any discussion? Can we do that on the board? Can you set it up to, or you just want to raise hands?
Yeah, we'll just have to.
All in
raise
favor,
hands.
raise your hand.
Put it on the record.
It's going on the record. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Motion passes. All opposed? Okay. All right. So we are now in closed session.
I'm looking here.
All right, yeah, please log back into your tablets.
Michael?
I'm still in.
Yeah, it says everybody's in.
Can we start?
We are back in open session, so we are.
Okay, I make a motion that we postpone discussing Resolution 2024 until next council meeting to give Councilwoman Kasi ample time to prepare a response to the resolution.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to basically table resolution 2024 until the next council meeting. Any discussion?
I support this resolution. I would like more time as well for myself to be able to look over the packet and make sure that I understand everything before we are discussing this in a public forum.
Okay, anyone else? This really is just a voice vote, but let's raise our hand. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand. We can. All right. All right, so we are moving on to resolution.
Yeah, you got one?
What's
I know we want to be.
25?
What's that?
23, 25?
Resolution 2023, a resolution providing for the formal acceptance of an anonymous donation of $10,000 by the City Council of the City of Carthage, Missouri pursuant to city policy.
Mr. Ellen.
Your Honor, I move that we adopt Resolution 2023.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2023. Any discussion? Cast your votes. Resolution stands adopted. All right, that concludes our meeting for this evening. Any closing comments, Ms. Blair?
None this evening.
None this evening, Your Honor.
No,
Mr. Holt? Mr. Snow?
So I would just like to comment on some of the discussions. Mr. Taylor stopped me on the way down, and we had a bit of a visit. I believe the only way for good government to take place is for differing opinions to be brought forward and discuss those opinions. I believe that every one of us has a right to our opinion, and that opinion may or may not be right, or may or may not be agreed or disagreed with the entire council. But I believe that what we had discussion on tonight is the agreement or disagreement of whether, as council members, we can have an opinion and we can express that opinion. So moving forward, I appreciate all discussion and disagreements. I believe that we need to get as much information as we can to be able to work and make this city the best that we can make it. So I look forward to further discussion. I look forward to further discussion on the resolution that was tabled tonight. But I believe that we all, in our own respect, have our opinion, and that opinion should be allowed to be expressed in public. That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Ellen?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just with the cold weather that we've had and everything, just want to thank all city department heads, or all city department employees, excuse me, because I know it's their job, but it makes it a little extra tougher when it's out there. But all city department heads, thank you all very much for everything you do. That's all, Your Honor.
Copy.
I just want to thank everybody for turning out. It's, you know, I appreciate it when you come out to any city council meeting, whether you're here for the resolution that was just tabled, whether you're here for me, whether you're here for something else. I appreciate everybody coming out, absolutely. And I appreciate you all staying well past 10 o'clock. So thank you all again for your support, and I hope everybody has a good night.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sad not to see Chief Huntley here today. Jason Martin, I'm happy to see you too, though, but I did want to please pass on my thanks to him, because I know in the cold weather, part of what he does is look out for our homeless population and check in on them, and so I would like to acknowledge him and thank him for his work that he does with them. That is all for tonight, Your Honor.
Taylor.
I would just like to say, personally, I have no vendetta against anyone here on the council or in the audience. I am here to try to do the best job I can for the city and the citizens of Carthage. I don't always agree with everyone, and I think that's probably a pretty good way to be, is because, like Alan said, we all have our own opinions. We have our own reasons for thinking certain ways. And that's what makes us a republic, I guess you'd call it. We all have to have a say, be right or wrong, but we all have rules that we have to abide by also. And if I have overstepped my bounds in any which way whatever, please accept my apologies. I have not been pressured to say this. This is on my own. I am not the brightest bulb in the chandelier when it comes to politics. To see me sitting here, my wife laughed because I don't like politics at all. But I signed my name on the dotted line, and nope, I will tell you flat out, the only person that voted for me was me. I got this because I was drawn out of a hat. But I'm here, and I'm going to do the best job I know how. It may not always be the right way, but I'll guarantee it won't always be the wrong way either. And I am willing to listen to anybody that has something to say. If you have a complaint or you want to say something good about somebody, I'm here. And I've got something in the works that I'm going to need the citizens' help in this town to get more voters to the polls. And when I get it finalized, it will be brought before the council and it will be brought before the people. And I thank you for your time, and I'm glad everyone is here. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with Alan Snow over there. I think it's all about respect, and when you can't choose anything, just always choose to be kind, because everybody's not out to get anybody. We want what's best for the city, and everybody has their own life at home, and we don't know what everybody's going through in public or in private. So please just try to always be kind, because in my opinion, I'm not out to hurt and never want to hurt anyone. So that's all I have to say. Have a good evening.
Mr. Armstrong.
Well, I famously am called last word now, so I get the last word tonight. I'm reminded of a time when Mr. Brady Beckham, who's in the audience tonight, was sitting in Ms. Cossey's very seat. And we had a very heated argument in which the council was told that they were no longer allowed to speak. And, you know, that was a different mayor and it was a different time. And we worked through it. And we got to a better place because of it. And conflict, you know, separates the wheat from the chaff. And conflict hopefully makes us all better. And I believe that that conflict made us a better, stronger council and a better, stronger government. And I believe that, you know, the conflicts that we go through now will make us stronger. And, you know, after Mike retired, he and I would go have coffee. And, you know, we never saw eye to eye on anything, let alone in this room where we famously would get very heated. But at the end of the day, we went and had coffee together all the time, and we talked about his dogs, and we talked about life. And, you know, there's no one in this room that I would not extend an open hand to speak to about anything. I know that there has been a lot of hubbub about what councils in the past have done, and nobody's ever asked my opinion, even though I've been here the longest. But my opinion has not been valued. But my opinion is what it is, and I'm happy to share it with anybody who wants it. And my perspective from the history of this body, I'm open to meet with anybody. Whether you're in the audience, whether you're a member of, you live in my ward, whether you live in the city of Carthage, or whether you live in the greater community of 64836 or Southwest Missouri. I've never turned anyone away. Now, I did not take one phone call from a member of the audience, but that's because we'd already spoken and he called me multiple times. So I stopped answering because we'd already talked. But I will never turn you away the first time. Call me if you want to talk. I'm here. And I've never turned anybody away. So with that, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Great. You need this too, don't you?
Yeah. Thank you. Yep. I got, you know who's.
Okay, I'm out of here.